Yes, they're supposed to start, right now, but I don't see it up on a channel yet, like Detroit News or anything. Welcome, Elizabeth, by the way. Hi, Kirsten. How are you? Good morning, China. I'm in a hotel at the Grand Canyon. Yes. This 2-hour time difference is kicking my butt. So oh, well, it's like, what time is it here? I got up at 5:30 in the morning here because it's 3 hours behind Detroit time. So this is, as you can tell, my face is like still swollen from sleeping. And this coffee is really bad. I know, right? Poor me. I'm at the Grand Canyon. First world problems. Complaining about coffee and being at the Grand Canyon and 2-hour different time difference when we have people fighting for their life. Put things in perspective, Tracy. Where are you from, Elizabeth? Oh, nice. I love DC. It's so pretty. It's one of my favorite places. I used to have that market for a while, so I worked a lot in DC and Baltimore and a lot around Virginia, the whole area. My son went to Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham. Hi, Jenny. How are you doing? Hi, Evan. How are you? I haven't found the live stream, Evan. I've been looking forward to it, but I also have not found it. So we're just waiting. So in the meantime, we're gonna watch the Alec Baldwin opening statements, and I'm gonna keep checking. I don't know if they're going to actually have the deliberation live because she said she had a lot to do uh, court-wise. So I'm not sure if they're gonna have the cameras at the courtroom just due to the stuff the judge said she had to do. Oh, I think I saw you on there, Evan. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I hope they do. Well, welcome to the channel. I really appreciate it. We're gonna I think it's gonna be fairly quick, but we will see. I guess old Patrick's gonna have to come over here, even though he called me an amateur. Said my channel was amateur hour, so we'll see if he shows up. Do I think they'll stream Brian Kober? Yes, I think they will give in to Brian Koberger and stream it. I don't know how you guys feel about Koberger, but I'm kind of on the fence about that as well because I haven't seen all the evidence, so I'm very curious as to what they're going to bring forward for that. It was very good. It was very, very, very good. He brought up a lot of points, and I re-listened to some of the prosecution's closing, and it was funny how the prosecution actually made it seem like the defense had to put on the trial. And a lot of the things that they were saying in their closing was trying to poke holes in the defense uh, case, which was really backwards. So, oh, Patrick on the Detroit chat, he said he went to my channel and said it was very amateur hour. So I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate your input, especially coming from you. No, I don't think he did it. I'm actually doing an entire series on my channel where I'm investigating Samantha's death. So my hope is to find the actual killer of Samantha. I don't believe Michael did it at all. I actually have been working on it and researching it, and I don't believe Michael did it. Uh, the more and more I listen to Jeff's confession, the more I believe Jeff actually had something to do with it. And the more and more I talk to people in the community, the more and more I believe Jeff did it. Also, because I have a background in interviews and interrogations, and I have a background in knowing people, reading people, and paying attention to their body language and when they lie and when they're trying to make up stories. And I also watched Jeff's testimony again on the stand. He had to do a lot of recall, which a lot of searching for how he's going to tell the story. I believe he was lying a lot on the stand. So, so I feel like the things he was trying to make up on the stand were not true. He was being very, very careful with his words, too careful with that immunity. Yeah, to stab 4 people and no one kind of warn the other, especially when they were in the same room with each other, makes it kind of weird to me. No, we're going today. We drove to the Grand Canyon yesterday. So, uh, my sister's tired. She's still you'll probably hear her snoring in the background in a minute. And my body's killing me, but we haven't even got to the Grand Canyon yet, and I already hurt. Yeah, Elizabeth, I say some pretty, off the cuff things. Sometimes I think I forget I'm live. Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on Koberger yet because I don't have all the evidence. No one does. As far as with Jeff, I believe that he was setting up his defense, doing his confession. I wish they offered rides up there. I need a ride. It should be starting soon. I'll take some pictures, Kirsten. I might do a live from the Grand Canyon if I have signal. Um, it's supposed to start any minute now. That's what we're waiting on. Yeah, I don't know, especially because also I've worked in forensics, so I watched them taking the evidence out of the house, and there was so much cross contamination. I did a video on it. I did a short video on that evidence where they were putting it all in a U-Haul truck, and it wasn't like bagged in evidence bags. It was just kind of all being taken out. So I just think it's kind of weird. There's a lot of stuff being taken out of that house, and it wasn't protected, and it was like being passed from like down a line from hand to hand to hand. I've never been. It's beautiful. So we're up at like 9,000 feet or something right now. There's literally nothing here. It's just the Grand Canyon. There's some hotels, but other than that, it's just you're just coming up here to see the Grand Canyon. Giant hole in the ground. Yeah, Court TV did too. I don't like that Court TV picked this up, and it just they weren't favorable of Michael. Truly irritated me. God, coffee is so bad. Ugh. Let me try to find something if I can. They have a museum. Oh, okay. I also heard from another one of Samantha's friends, and they also believe that Jeff did it. So, oh, okay. Let's see. Wayne, what is this called? CBS Detroit. Let me see if I can find something, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna share something. Gwen sent it to me. Woo!
Newscast jury deliberations are happening now in the Samantha Woll murder trial.
Both the prosecution and defense presented their closing arguments today. Defense attorney, former prosecutor Rick Convertino, here to discuss this
Check
trial.
this out. Gwen shared this with me last night.
She was a leader in the local Jewish community, so a lot of people are paying close attention. From what you have seen, how do you think this is going to go?
I don't have any doubt how it's going to go. It's going to go. It's going to be a not guilty verdict. I don't think that this person is not only Mr. Jackson Bolanos is not guilty. I think he's innocent from everything I've seen, and I've seen a lot of the trial, including the closings and the direct and cross-examination of the defendant. When a defendant testifies, that is a very serious thing. That is a it's either going to be a home run or hit by pitch, and he knocked it out of the ballpark. The cross-examination was feckless. I think that the ability to explain his actions to the jury was straightforward. I think it came across as honest. He admitted he's a thief, but not a killer, and I think that's what the evidence shows. The biggest part, and I think we talked about this earlier, Shana, when I was on before, the only thing that connects Jackson Bolanos to this homicide is the speckles of blood on his jacket, and he explained it. And I thought that was something that would be damning to him.
He said he tried to take her pulse to see if she was alive. He was in the area, so admitted to being near her body.
And it makes perfect sense, especially when you consider the fact that the amount of blood that was there in the home. The ability of the defense attorney, Mr. Brown, he did an excellent job to discern the difference between what happened in the home with the timeline, and then Ms. Woll coming out of the house, stumbling out of the house at 4:29 a.m., and that she was probably unconscious for a few hours, and then resuscitated herself, came up, crawled up on the wall, got herself up, and stumbled outside, because the majority of the blood was inside and not outside. And I think that the prosecution's ability to link the defendant to the homicide, I think it was, pathetic. It really was.
Well, speaking of, what were some of the major things that have been presented so far that make you question whether or not he is the person who did this?
Well, initially, the former boyfriend of Ms. Woll had confessed, and you thought, the way it was presented, that it was kind of a bumbling, stumbling, Dunsky type of guy who was on hallucinogenic drugs, both prescribed and not, and had a psychotic break and just made this up. Well, the defense points out that maybe not so, and that a lot of the evidence, including in the closing, he highlighted and zoomed in on a particular photograph of a person running away from the scene at the time of the defense's theory of the murder, which was 1:30ish. And that person looks an awful lot like the initial confessor. Hairstyle was the same, height, body build was the same. There's another interesting thing, Terrence, that on your point, that the differences that were striking to me was you had, and the defense attorney was careful to point out, this isn't an issue of race, but that being said, you had a white yuppie who confessed to the murder, and the way he was handled, had a lawyer before he talked to the police. His mother and father were present. He was asked if they could provide him with snacks. He was treated cordially and politely. He was allowed to confer with his attorney. He was allowed all sorts of things that typically wouldn't happen in an interrogation. And then you juxtapose that with Mr. Jackson Bolanos' interrogation. They referred to him as an MFer. They were no dignity in the interview. They accused him. They were deceitful and deceptive against him, tried to trick him into answering questions, and tried to intimate that the answers that he gave were dishonest and untruthful, when he explained in his testimony, his direct and on cross-examination, that they weren't, and that he was afraid. And the reason he says he was afraid, he said it in his cross-examination. He said, "Listen, I'm a black man out at night, middle of the night, trying to rob and open up and steal from cars and property, doing property crimes, and now I'm standing over a dead white woman." And it makes perfect sense. Is why he said, "I wanted nothing to do with that. I didn't want any part of that." So that was his reason why he didn't disclose it and why he didn't admit it initially, because he knew that he'd be tied into it, which he was. So this was, remember, this murder happened shortly after October 7th, which was a day which was heightened in the United States and certainly in Israel. There were a lot of anti-Semitic things going on, and that's what this was thought to have been initially, because Ms. Woll was the president of a local synagogue and very popular in the Jewish community and elsewhere, and she was a very affable person. And so her death drew a lot of attention. And as one of the Detroit police officers said in one of the interviews with Mr. Jackson Bolano, we're under a lot of pressure by the media to find someone. And his response was, "I hope you do. I want you to find out who did this, but it wasn't me." I don't think it was, beyond all peradventure. And I think that there'll be a quick acquittal. I think it'll come tomorrow.
All right. Well, if that happens, I hope you'll join us again to break down the verdict. Of course, the fate is in the jury's hands at this point. Rick Convertino, as always, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure to be with you both.
So, as you can see, that attorney thinks he's innocent. So, yeah, Gwen shared that with me last night. And even Michael's team had not seen that. So I shared that, and they were very happy. So that made them even more hopeful. So they're very excited. Yeah, I'm hoping we hear good news today. Yeah, because I haven't seen anything really positive for Michael other than the few supporters that he's got. Gosh, I imagine you guys from Detroit might hear about it before I do, because they're not showing it. I don't know what's taking so long for Alec Baldwin to get started. Of course, it's court. This happens all the time. Oh, is it? Really, Joanne? Okay. Oh, I need to get on Detroit news. I looked it up on YouTube, but it wasn't showing anything. So it's a big deal in Detroit. Welcome, Joanne. I saw you on here yesterday. Okay, so they're talking about it. Yeah, I wish they would. I know she's not going to have the cameras in there today. It'll be her chance to not have them in there. She's got stuff to do. They'll probably just announce it on a news. Darn it. I wonder if they'll let cameras in the courtroom when they call it. Well, opening should start. Oh, they're not even in the courtroom yet, are they? That's why all the press is still outside for Alec Baldwin. Famous people. Man. Can't ever expect them to be on time. Do they up there in Detroit, Joanne? See, that's the thing. Like, it was such a big, hot tomato case when it first happened, and then the national media just dropped it. So that's what has me so baffled. Oh, for them to start deliberating or show it? You mean they haven't even started deliberating? See, I hope so. I'm just concerned, Joanne, because no one's talking about it outside of Detroit. Court TV finally put something up. Oh, darn. They're not going to start until 10:30? Oh. Oh, for the rush trial. Okay. Well, that's just typical. Yeah, it is 6:37 here. It's my favorite time of morning. No, it's not. Well, hi, Char. How are you? So, I don't think they're going to televise in Detroit. They're just going to let them deliberate until they come up with a decision, because that way, I guess we're not looking at a ceiling fan or ceiling tiles. Because I think the judge in Detroit had some other cases to do. So I don't think there'll be a camera in there, but I don't know if they're going to put a camera in there when they come out with the verdict and televise the verdict. I would not even be getting up right now at this time in my real life, China, just so you know. So we thought we were going to watch the Alec Baldwin trial because it was supposed to have already started. And clearly, in Hollywood fashion, they are starting late. Yeah, I think it just comes with getting older for whatever reason. Like, no, I don't know, because I work with the elderly, so some of those people, they sleep all day long. Because I work late at night, so they get up and walk around at night, but they get their days and nights confused. But some of the people sleep all day or they'll get up, like, super duper early. So, I don't know, I know the prosecution wait, weren't they the ones fighting for that? I just feel like this is because they were going to charge Alec Baldwin, and then they dropped the case against Alec Baldwin, and then they should put everything onto the armorer, and then they decided they would charge Alec Baldwin anyway. I think they're just wanting more high profile. I think what they should have done, if they were smart prosecution, they would have charged Alec Baldwin with her actual murder, and they would have given Hannah immunity to testify against Alec Baldwin for cutting corners and saving money and rushing the set and that kind of stuff. That way, but yeah, Jenny, that then they could have gotten Alec Baldwin a little better, but this is kind of backwards. Not 18 years, 18 months. There's no 18 years. It's 18 months. She got 18 months. That's why this is all so ridiculous and petty. They're not going to get any time, not real time. Yeah, it makes zero sense. This is all for showboating. Yeah, David something. Yeah, but I don't know. No, not David. I don't remember, but this is all just like everybody has a job on a set, and this set being Alec Baldwin, who has been in the business as long as he has, just knows better. And I know what's his name, who was also on the set, he checks his own weapons every time, no matter what set he's on. So if you're a professional, you would check your own. So yeah, to me, I think she was the scapegoat. She was non-union. So how the industry works is if you can hire non-union, you're saving a crap ton of money. And she basically got that job because her dad had a name in the armor business. And she was non-union. She didn't even have a freaking license to carry. There was that movie was low budget, and low budget in Hollywood can mean it's like $1 million. I don't know what their budget was, but it was really low. So he was saving money, hiring as many non-union people as he could. He had some pretty decent names on the film besides himself. So you got to pay those actors extra people cost like nothing. You pay them nothing, and they're out in the middle of nowhere. So when you have extras that have to sit on a set out in the heat like that, and you have to bust them out there, it's expensive. It gets expensive. And when you have an armorer who doesn't have any experience and you're also borrowing props from other sets, it's gets mixed up. So everybody on a set has a job though. Your prop master is over props, your armorer is over armor. You shouldn't have both working in the same area. So it's a hot mess. That was a hot mess of a set. Oh, yeah, I don't like the way the blonde lady talks, the prosecutor. She definitely gets on my nerves. Oh. Did you guys hear that in the Karen Reed stuff that everybody's falling down in that? One of the Alberts has been fired or something, removed. Proctor's wife has lost her job. There's been a lot of crazy stuff happening with the Reed case. Yeah, a bunch of people are losing their jobs. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she was. She didn't poll the jury. I wish she had because I wanted to know. Oh, I wish we could I'd rather be looking at a ceiling tile right now to know that there's possible movement. Yeah, they moved the stupid Alec Baldwin trial to 9:30. Yeah, I watched this reenactment on the where did I find that? Um, I can't spell. I'm sure I'll find it. Where is it? Oh, this no. Found these people that did this reenactment on Karen Reed that had phone conversations. Darn it. Oh, darn it. I can't find it. I don't know. Somebody did a really cool one. Oh, they don't. Ooh, that's terrible, Gwen. How in the heck are we going to find out about? Yeah, he does. I saw the interview. So I don't guess Detroit.
Hey, hello. I've got something to show you, and it's called Fox Local.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, um, anybody in Detroit saying anything I'm not? They've been deliberating for 2 hours? Has it been 2 hours, y'all? No, it's been an hour. Am I wishful thinking? Yeah, I am. Darn it. What? What'd you say? Oh, okay. Oh, darn. Not finding anything about Samantha. Okay. Well, we're just in waiting mode. Other things that are going on. Joe Biden, we're still waiting to hear if he's finally going to drop out of the race. I think, don't know what you guys think, but there should be an age cutoff for president, whether they're competent or not. I think we need to stop voting in 60 plus year olds. They should be enjoying their golden years. That should be including Congress and Senate as well. Because I'm looking at the people who are defending him, and they're also ancient. So that's embarrassing. Yeah. Plus, I mean, just working with people that are that old, I mean, it literally happens in an instant. I mean, a UTI will knock those people down. They'll go from like being normal 1 second and facing a plate the next. So I'm just saying, these are the people who are making super duper important decisions for the entire country. That is scary. I mean, I can't decide what I want for breakfast on a daily basis. Can you imagine that there are people 20 and 30 years older than we are deciding if we should go to war or not? Not to mention the young, dumb ones that are coming up behind them making decisions too. Ugh. Oh, God. That scares the ever living bejesus out of me. I don't know. I think it should be like 40 to 60. And yeah, that's it. That's your age. That's your age limit. That's your age time frame. If you can't get it done between 40 and 60, then you're just done. You can't do it. I'm telling you, Jenny. You guys call it that too in South Africa. Whew, man. It's a mess. We're not allowed to say that around here because we get in big trouble. Shoot, bread, eggs. I'm here in Arizona. We went to the grocery store. Eggs are like $7. I'm like, eggs? Man, I remember when eggs were like 69 cents, 59 cents. That's crazy. Yeah, we can't. I don't know. I'm glad I don't grocery shop. That's what I'm thinking, Evan. Are you in Detroit, Evan? You think they would come back that quick with an innocent? It worries me if they come back too fast. I know. I mean, to us it's obvious.
One two one two one two one two one two one two one two
Oh,
one
no,
two
no, I have heard of Isle of Man. My
two
boyfriend is a motorcycle racer. We're huge MotoGP fans, and his
one
dream is
two
to
one two one two one two
do
one
Isle of
two.
Man. But if he gets any older, we're never going to make it. But yes, Isle of Man is infamous. Are you kidding me? Who is your MotoGP rider? She can't send them back, Jenny. Once they make a verdict, if it's unanimous, she can't send them back. It is very, very dangerous. It's insane to watch. It's dangerous for spectators too, not just the people in it. It's crazy. I watched lots of documentaries about it. Oh yeah, totally separate entity. Yeah. Oh yeah, MotoGP wouldn't have anything to do with something that insane. Although MotoGP is pretty dangerous. They're doing everything they can to make the bikes go faster, and Ducati is taking over. It's going to be Ducati GP soon. Dunlop. We are huge, obviously, BR46, but he's not racing anymore. So I've been pulling for Luca, and then Luca left, and he sucks right now. He's sucking. Him and Bezecchi both. But Marquez is coming back up. It's anyone's race. It's anyone's season this season. Everybody's moving and shaking for next season, though. They're all switching teams like crazy. All the women in here are like, what the heck are y'all talking about? Oh, I like F1. So F1 wants to buy, there's an F1 driver who wants to buy a MotoGP team. I can't remember his name. He's really good. But I think he wants to buy a MotoGP team. Sorry, we're talking about motorcycle racing and fast cars. And Isle of Man is one of the most dangerous races in the world. It's not a MotoGP race, though. It's just crazy, crazy motorcycle riders who think they can beat the most dangerous road. Hey, Evil Queen, how are you? Just subscribe and hit the notification bell and you won't miss me. Yes, yes, I'm on about Lewis Hamilton, Evan. That's who I'm on about. He's moving to Ferrari. Ah, right on. I love it, Evan. I love it. Yeah, is he the one who wants to buy the MotoGP team? It's a big to-do in the MotoGP world, you know. Yeah, well, I'm in Evil Queen. I'm in Arizona, so this time change is kicking my butt. It'll be interesting if he does. I mean, he's a big name and he's got lots of money. And MotoGP is all about money. That's right. That's right, Evan. F1 brings the money. They come here to Texas. So if we get F1 and it like decimates MotoGP every year here. So we only have the one race that comes here to America for MotoGP, and that's in Austin. And then F1 comes right after, I think, MotoGP. So the Evil Queen, the Alec Baldwin trial is late. It was supposed to start an hour ago, and Samantha Woll is not being shown on TV. We're just kind of waiting for the verdict. So we're hoping they're going to show the verdict on TV. So I'm just checking the news, and other people from the Detroit area are checking in. And Evan, all the way from the Isle of Man, is waiting impatiently with us as well. Schumacher disappeared. Okay, so I have an update. The jury did not start deliberating until 20 minutes ago for Samantha Woll. So I guess whatever weather you guys had, they did the closing arguments yesterday for Samantha Wall, Evil Queen, and I guess the weather, whatever the flooding you guys were talking about up there, held up the jury. So they just started deliberating at 8:50 a.m. Detroit time. So we'll see what happens. But now they're deliberating. We know that much. Yeah, there's a Netflix documentary about Schumacher. Yeah, so we're just waiting. They just started, so we'll see how long it takes. So the Alec Baldwin trial will start in another like 20 minutes or so. Yeah, so we're waiting for Alec Baldwin to start. Yeah, we're hoping for a not guilty for the Samantha Wall trial. We're just waiting for them to come back and say the right thing, is what we're hoping for. But they've only been deliberating for 30 minutes. Not even 30 minutes. So yeah, he did a great job. Brian did a very good job. They're pretty satisfied with the closing arguments. They're pretty pleased with the fact that the prosecution had to dig holes in the defense case. That's so dumb that the prosecution had to do that. Oh my God, there's screaming children outside. Okay. First of all, y'all, I have to tell y'all, we are at the Grand Canyon, right? So I used to travel for work and I'm bougie, okay? I'm high maintenance. So we get up here. I'm telling y'all this before my sister gets back in the room. So we get up here to this hotel. Now I looked online at the pictures of the hotel. She's like, we got this really nice hotel. So I'm all excited. And I'm like, okay, the hotel looks really, really nice. I don't know what hotel this photographer took pictures of, but it wasn't this hotel, okay? Now, I don't know about y'all, but I have this like thing where I don't go to hotels where you park in front of the door of your hotel room and you get out of your car and you walk up and that's your hotel room door. No, I don't do atrium hotels and I don't do hotels where I have to walk up off the street into my hotel room. That's not how, no, no. So, but that's the kind of hotels they have up here, y'all, by the Grand Canyon, in case y'all didn't know that. Apparently Gwen has been to the Grand Canyon before, so she probably knows that. But yeah, those are like motels, not hotels. But we go to the restaurant, y'all. That was not, no. Have y'all seen that show Restaurant Impossible or Gordon Ramsay? When they brought the plates out, I swear it looked like some food that Gordon Ramsay would like throw on the floor and say a lot of ugly things and wonder how this place has still been in business. But that's not what we came here for. We came here to go to the Grand Canyon and have memories. Memories that we will laugh about later because this is not what the pictures look like. So y'all beware of the internet. So much like, and I told my sister that much like that video that they Frankenstein together, that to make it look like Michael was the one down there doing all those things, that's what this hotel did. This hotel put pictures on the internet to make it look like it was fancy schmancy, but it's not. Did you get me some coffee? Holy but Jesus, this is the nastiest coffee ever in the whole wide world. Just saying. Hey, Mad Dog. Welcome to the chat. You caught me. I'm sorry. I was just trying to pass the time. I go on rants. Sometimes I forget I'm on a live chat. How are you doing? Welcome in. We are awaiting Alec Baldwin's trial to start. I just updated everybody to tell you that the jury did not start deliberating until 8:50 for Samantha Woll because of apparently Michigan can't handle some wet rain weather or some kind of jazz. I don't know. I think they call it floods or something. So anyway, they were late. So yeah, they didn't start till 8:50 for deliberations. Oh, I'm sorry, 9:50. 9:50 Detroit time. My bad. Dang it, I forget. Okay, I'm in Arizona visiting my sister. We're up at like 0 dark 30, okay? It's not even dark. It's daylight at 5 here in the morning. What kind of shenanigans is that? 5 o'clock in the morning, the dang sun is out, and it's already 105 degrees. There is something wrong. That is awesome. I am glad that you came here. Welcome to our mad, 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 mad world. So I cannot watch that, Kirsten, because I will get dinged. One of these court TVs or Law and Crimes are going to ding me. That's right. Like, subscribe, and share. And hit that notification bell so you know when I go live again and you can hear some all kinds of crazy stuff because who knows what's going to come out of my mouth next. Yes, Mad Dog, we must know where everybody is from. Oh, you're from Detroit? Awesome. What is the vibe up there? Because let me tell you, I feel like this is a crock of baloney. I'm doing a whole series on this because this was national, international attention, and then it went to no attention. We're all foreigners. I'm a foreigner to you, Jenny and Kirsten. Yeah, Gwen's definitely a foreigner. She's out in the middle of nowhere. She's up there with all the mad cow disease and stuff. Hey, Kirsten, guess what? I'm allowed to give blood now in America. I lived in Germany during mad cow, and they made me. I wasn't allowed to give blood until I think this year. I'm allowed to give blood now.
Did you get a letter?
Huh? Yeah.
Did you get a letter?
I know. Me and my sister were allowed to give blood now. We got a letter. We got a letter from the government said we could give blood. Now we're like, no, you were too bougie for our blood. We're not giving it now. Okay, I'm going to put the Alec Baldwin on full screen until it comes on. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, have mercy. Is this all the way over? Okay. All right, Gwen, I'm going to let you run this shindig. I'll be right back. Nothing still on Michael. What are they sidebarring about? Did they already do their openings? Oh, they still haven't done that yet? Oh my gosh.
The matter I'm calling is D101CR 2024-13, State of New Mexico versus Alexander Ray Baldwin. All right, jury, what are you doing? Oh, I have it on. So I have already sworn you in, if you'll recall, yesterday. Okay. And now I'm going to explain some trial procedure. First of all, I want you to know this trial is being filmed, but you are not being filmed, and you will not be filmed at all throughout within the courtroom, okay? All right. So I'm going to, this is a criminal case, as you know. I'm going to reread the grand jury indictment. It's very formal, so we'll go with that. Count 1, involuntary manslaughter, negligent use of a firearm, in that on or about October 21, 2021, in Santa Fe County, New Mexico, State of New Mexico, at Bonanza Creek Ranch, located at 545 Bonanza Creek Road, Santa Fe, NM 87508. The above named defendant did cause the death of Helena Hutchins in the commission of negligent use of a firearm. Count 1 in the alternative, involuntary manslaughter, without due caution or circumspection, in that on or about October 21, 2021, in Santa Fe County, State of New Mexico, at Bonanza Creek Ranch, located at 545 Bonanza Creek Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87507, the above named defendant did cause the death of Helena Hutchins by an act committed with the total disregard or indifference for the safety of others, and the act was such that an ordinary person would anticipate that death might occur under the circumstances. Again, Mr. Baldwin is presumed innocent. The burden is always on the state to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. What I say now is the introduction of the case and the instructions. All right. Along with those instructions previously given, these are preliminary only and may be changed during or at the end of trial. First of all of you must pay close attention to the evidence. After you've heard all of the evidence in the case, I will read the final instructions of law to you. You will also receive a written copy of the instructions. You must follow the final instructions in deciding this case. And just so you know, there's going to be no transcript available to you. Juries have asked me that, so I'm telling you up front, okay? Again, the trial is expected to last 8 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. That's the trial. That does not include your deliberation time. The usual hours of trial will be from 8:30 to 5, typically, with a half hour for lunch. No, an hour for lunch, and then a morning break and an afternoon break. Again, please report to the jury lounge no later than 8:30, unless we're instructing you otherwise for different reasons. But in your mind, you can always expect 8:30 to be here, okay? Do not come into the courtroom unless you are accompanied by my bailiff, Steve, okay? You may take water into the courtroom with you, and you can also take coffee or tea, or if you have a lid on your cup, okay? We stand up out of respect for you because you are the ultimate decision makers as to the facts in this particular case. So when you come into the courtroom, you can go ahead and be seated.
Does anyone know
and then
who the
we will
woman is
take our
next to
seats.
Stephen Baldwin?
And again, it's
Is
important
that his
to hear.
wife?
So please raise your hand at any time you can't hear. Don't
That,
be self-conscious
Alec
about it.
Baldwin's
Don't wait
wife?
until a couple of questions have been asked. You've got to, if you can't hear, you've got to shoot that hand up right away, okay? All right, this is a public proceeding, so people may go in and out. You may find yourself looking at who goes in and out, but after a while, you'll get used to it.
That's
But
Alec
if there is
Baldwin's
anything
wife.
that is distracting you from being able
Yeah.
to listen and be involved in this case, please tell Steve immediately. He'll let me know, and I'll do my best to get rid of the distraction.
She's
As
not
you
that
know,
old.
the temperature we
She's way younger
cannot
than Alec.
control. All right, so sorry, we'll try to get the county in here if it plummets too high. I doubt it'll plummet too low. You are allowed but not required to take notes during trial. Steve has given you a pad and a
Pen and a
Okay.
paper.
Please put your name on the front page of your pad and then take
Had
notes
a Biden
beginning on the
moment.
second page. On breaks, follow Steve's instruction on whether to take the pad with you or whether to leave it on your chair. You don't have to worry about confidentiality. They'll be locked up at night, and when the trial is finished, they'll be shredded. Okay. Don't let your notes take the place of your independent memory of the evidence. When taking notes, please do not forget to pay close attention to the trial. Listening and watching witnesses during their testimony will help you assess their appearance, behavior, memory, and whatever else bears on their credibility. Let's go through the order of trial for those that have not engaged in a criminal trial before. A criminal trial generally begins with the lawyers telling you what they expect the evidence to show.
Steven looks road hard.
These
and put up
statements and the
with-
statements made by the
I mean,
lawyers during the
he looks
course of the
rough.
trial can be of considerable assistance to you in understanding the evidence as it is presented at trial. Is there something distracting you, juror?
No.
I'm talking to the other one. Okay. Statements of the lawyers, however, are not themselves evidence.
Showbiz,
The evidence
baby.
will be the testimony of the witnesses, exhibits, and any facts agreed to by the parties. After you have heard all of the evidence, I will give you final instructions on the law. The lawyers will argue the case, and then you will retire to the jury room to arrive at a verdict. It is my duty to decide what evidence you may consider. Your job is to find and determine the facts in this case, which you must do solely upon the evidence received here in court. It is the duty of a lawyer to object to questions, testimony, or exhibits the lawyer believes may not be proper, and you must not hold such objection against the objecting party. I will sustain objections if the question or evidence sought is improper for you to consider. If I sustain an objection to evidence, you must not consider such evidence, nor may you consider any evidence I have told you to disregard. By itself, a question is not evidence. You must not speculate about what would be the answer to a question that I rule cannot be answered. It is for you to decide whether the witnesses know what they are talking about and whether they are being truthful. You may give the testimony of any witness whatever weight you believe it merits. You may take into account, among other things, the witness's ability and opportunities to observe, memory, manner, or any bias or prejudice that the witness may have, and the reasonableness of the testimony considered in light of all of the evidence of the case. No ruling, gesture, or comment I make during the course of the trial should influence your decision in this case. At times, I may ask questions of witnesses. If I do, such questions do not in any way indicate my opinion about the facts or indicate the weight I feel you should give to the testimony of the witnesses. Questions by jurors. Ordinarily, the attorneys will develop all pertinent evidence. It is the exception rather than the rule that an individual juror will have an unanswered question after all of the evidence is presented. However, if you feel an important question has not been asked or answered, write it down on a piece of your notepaper and give it to Steve before this is important, before the witness leaves the stand. Okay? I will decide whether or when your question will be asked. Rules of evidence or other considerations apply to questions you submit and may prevent the question from being asked. If the question is not asked, please do not give it any further consideration. Do not discuss it with the other jurors, and please do not hold it against either side that you did not get an answer. Conduct of jurors. Again, very important. You must decide the case solely upon the evidence received here in court. You must not consider anything you may have read or heard about the case outside the courtroom. During the trial and your
Anyone on here
deliberations,
from
you
Detroit
must
heard
avoid
anything
news
yet?
accounts of the trial,
I'm still
whether they be
looking.
on radio, television, the internet, or in a newspaper or other written publication. You must not visit the scene of the incident on your own. You cannot make experiments with reference to the case, and in this day and age, you cannot Google or research any of the subject matter of this case. Until you retire to deliberate the case, you must not discuss this case or the evidence with anyone, including each other. Very important, as I said yesterday, when you go in that room, You don't talk about the case. You wait until you are a jury that is deliberating, okay? If an exhibit is admitted in evidence, you should examine it yourself and not talk about it with other jurors until you retire to deliberate. It is important that you keep an open mind and not decide any part of the case until the entire case has been completed and submitted to you. Your special responsibility as jurors demands that throughout this trial, you exercise your judgment impartially and without regard to any
Prosecutor.
sympathy, bias,
He's
or
annoying as all get
prejudice.
out.
To minimize the
He's the
risk
one
of
who brought the
accidentally
charges
overhearing
against Alec
something that is
Baldwin
not
and dropped the
evidence in this
charges
case,
and went after
please
the
continue
armor.
to wear your jurors'
Now
badges
she's out
while
for
in and
blood.
around the courthouse. If someone
Which
happens
is
to
fine,
discuss
but
the
like I
case
said,
in
she
your
should have went
presence,
for Alec
report
Baldwin
that
first
fact immediately to
and
Steve.
use the armor
Although it is natural to
as
visit
a
with people you
main
meet,
witness against
please do
him.
not talk with any of the attorneys, parties, witnesses, or spectators, either in or out of the courtroom. If you
But
meet
she
in the
went full on
hallways
for the
or
armor,
elevators,
and now
there's
she's trying
nothing
to go
wrong with
full on
saying
for
a good
him.
morning or a good afternoon, but your
She would
conversation
have had a
should
better
end
case
there.
if she just gone for Alec
If the
Baldwin.
attorneys, parties, and witnesses do
place.
not greet you outside of court or avoid riding in the same elevator with you, they're not being rude. They are just carefully observing this rule. All right, so we're going to begin the case. The case starts with opening statements. The state begins first because they have the burden of proof, and then the defendant. All right, go ahead, counsel.
Judge, just one quick housekeeping matter while Ms. Johnson's getting set up.
All right.
Sorry, Kirsten. The blonde woman is the prosecutor. She is the one who brought the armor to trial. She was going to bring Alec Baldwin to trial, and she dropped those charges and instead took the young girl who was the armorer to trial. Now she's decided to bring Alec Baldwin back to trial. Again, I feel if she was going to take Alec Baldwin to trial, she should have done that in the first place and had Hannah as a witness with immunity, because she would have had a better chance of getting Alec charged for neglect and all of the things. He pulled the trigger. He claimed he didn't. With that type of gun, I know you have to pull the hammer back, then pull the trigger. He didn't need to have that gun for that particular scene.
When someone plays make-believe
I'll explain it later.
with a real gun in a real-life workplace, and while playing make-believe with that gun violates the cardinal rules of firearm safety, people's lives are endangered, and someone could be killed. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what this case is about. It's simple, it's straightforward. The evidence will show that someone who played make-believe with a real gun and violated the cardinal rules of firearm safety is the defendant, Alexander Baldwin. You will hear over the course of the next few days that in the fall of 2021, a movie called Rust began filming at the Bonanza Creek Ranch just south of Santa Fe in Santa Fe County. You will learn that this movie was a Western with a lot of gun action. And while it was a movie set, it was a real life workplace for many people. But you will hear this workplace was on a tight budget. And you will learn that some of the people who were hired to work at this workplace were very inexperienced. And one of those was the armorer a very young woman named Hannah Gutierrez Reed. You will hear testimony from crew members who worked on the set, who will tell you that to them, Ms. Gutierrez's inexperience was obvious. You will also learn that this workplace has some talented people. And one of those was the director of photography, a vibrant 42-year-old rising star named Helena Hutchins. You will also learn that the director of this film was Joel Souza, another talented individual who cares deeply for his projects. The evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that like in many workplaces, there are people who act in a reckless manner and place other individuals in danger and act without due regard for the safety of others. That, you will hear, was the defendant, Alec Baldwin, the lead actor on this film. You will learn that this movie began filming on or about October 6, 2021. But the defendant did not arrive on set to begin working until about October 13. And you will learn that prior to arriving on the set to work, he requested to be assigned the biggest gun available. So he was assigned this revolver, a replica of an 1873 single-action revolver manufactured by Pieta Firearms in Italy. You will hear from Alessandro Pieta, who will tell you he manufactured this gun. And he will tell you he manufactured it in 2015. And he will explain the quality control measures that Pieta Firearms follows in order to ensure
Because this is
that
America,
firearms
Kirsten.
that are manufactured by Pieta Firearms don't have any problems or issues. Mr. Pieta will tell you that this firearm he himself manufactured, and that when Pieta sent it to EMF, which is the company that distributes firearms for Pieta Firearms in the United
And
States,
it's for realism.
this gun was in perfect working condition. You will hear from Justin Neal, who is a representative of EMF, a company out of California that has historically been known to provide firearms to the movie industry. Mr. Neal will tell you that when EMF received this firearm in 2017, it was in perfect working order. And in fact, when EMF had this firearm, it was subjected to numerous quality control inspections because it was used as a show gun at gun shows. The evidence will show that in September of 2021, an individual by the name of Seth Kenny was contacted by the folks with Rust Production. They asked Mr. Kenny if he would be able to provide some firearms for the filming, for use during the filming of Rust. You will learn that Mr. Kenny owns PDQ Firearm and Prop. It's a duly licensed firearms dealership. Mr. Kenny then contacted EMF and ordered several single-action replica revolvers. And in September, or on September 29, 2021, Mr. Kenny purchased this gun. And you will hear that Mr. Kenny received it from EMF, and it was in perfect working order. The only thing that Mr. Kenny did to this gun was to insert the firing pin, because since it was a show gun, it didn't have a firing pin. But you'll learn that that's a very easy step. All he had to do was just insert the pin, and that's it. And then Mr. Kenny had the firearms, this one and some other firearms, transferred to the set of Rust at the Bonanza Creek Ranch. And on October 13th, 2021, the defendant was supposed to have a training session with this gun and this young armorer. But you will see that during this training session, the defendant had somebody or a couple of people filming him while he's running around shooting this gun. You will learn, ladies and gentlemen, or you'll hear during this trial the use of the words prop gun. And you'll learn a prop gun is this real gun. It's not a toy. It's not made of rubber. It's a real gun. You will also see evidence, ladies and gentlemen, that during the days before that fateful October 21st day, the defendant handled this firearm multiple occasions. You will see video footage of the defendant firing this firearm, working perfectly fine. But you'll see evidence, ladies and gentlemen, that each time the defendant handled this firearm, he did not do a safety check with that inexperienced armorer. And you'll hear that the reason he didn't do a safety check is because he didn't want to offend her. The evidence you will see will paint a real-life picture of a real-life workplace where this defendant mishandled this gun. You will see him using this gun as a pointer to point at people, to point at things. You will see him cock the hammer when he's not supposed to cock the hammer. You will see him put his finger on the trigger when his finger's not supposed to be on the trigger. You will hear about numerous breaches of firearm safety with this defendant and this use of this firearm. And the evidence will show that on the morning of October 21st, 2021, the camera crew walked off set. And you will learn that one of the reasons that camera crew walked out is because they were concerned over safety breaches with the use of firearms. The evidence will show that the morning of October 21st started out a couple of hours behind. They filmed some scenes at this church on the Bonanza Creek Ranch. And you will see that one of those scenes required the defendant to pull out his gun. This was in the morning. Pull out his gun. And you'll hear the director tell him, pull it out and hold it. And the first time, you'll see evidence the defendant does what the director tells him. But you will hear the director tell you that many times the defendant would do his own thing. So then the director in the morning asked him, okay, do it again, just like you did now. The defendant pulls out the gun, but this time he cocks the hammer. The evidence will show they then broke for lunch. And around 1:30 or so, they came back to this church to do what's called a blocking. The evidence will show that Ms. Hutchins wanted to do a blocking for an insert. And you will learn what a blocking is, just working out the details of the moves of the actor. It wasn't even a rehearsal. You will hear from one of the witnesses who walked into the church and saw the defendant kind of playing with his gun. And then you will see evidence or hear evidence that Ms. Hutchins and Mr. Souza were talking to the defendant about doing this insert. And the insert was just supposed to be from here to here. And it was supposed to be of the defendant just slowly taking his gun out of his holster, and just holding it at an angle. The evidence will show that someone asked the armorer to bring the defendant's gun to him. And she did. She brought it into the church, showed it to David Halls, who you will learn was the first assistant director. The gun was empty. Ms. Gutierrez then handed the gun to the defendant. But then you will hear that Ms. Gutierrez was given the gun back, and she took it and loaded it with dummy rounds. And what you will learn is that dummy rounds are inert rounds. They look like real real rounds, but they are very easy to tell that they are not because they'll rattle. Ms. Gutierrez then went back to the church, showed the revolver to the first assistant director very fast. They only checked about 3 rounds, very quick. And they missed 1 round. You will learn that one of the rounds in that revolver was a real round. And the evidence will show that Ms. Gutierrez then handed the gun to the defendant. And what you will learn is that once again, the defendant failed to do a gun check or a safety check with this armor. So he takes the firearm, puts it in his holster. Then Ms. Hutchins and Mr. Souza were doing this blocking. And the evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that the defendant, again, did his own thing. You will hear from an individual by the name of Kent Jorgensen. Mr. Jorgensen will tell you that he's been involved in drafting and revising movie set safety rules. You will learn that these movie set safety rules require actors like the defendant to treat every firearm as though it's loaded, to never point a firearm at another person, and to never put your finger on the trigger unless you're prepared to shoot or to destroy whatever's in front of you. The evidence will show that on October 21st, 2021, after that lunch break, the defendant once again violated those set safety rules. And during this blocking, the director had instructed him to just slowly take out that gun and just hold it at an angle. But you will see that the defendant takes it out quickly the first time, points it. And you will hear witness testimony who will tell you the first time he does it, his finger is on or around the trigger. He does it again, takes it out very fast, points it. And once again, you will hear testimony that his finger was on or around the trigger. And the evidence will show that that third and fatal time, he takes it out once again, fast, hammer's cocked, he cocks the hammer, points it straight at Ms. Hutchins, and fires that gun, sending that live bullet right into Ms. Hutchins' body. You will learn that this bullet was a .45 caliber round that entered Ms. Hutchins' body right underneath her right underarm. It perforated her right lung. It traveled through her spine, lacerating her spinal cord, and then it exited on the left side of her back. That bullet then went into Joel Souza's right shoulder, and it came to rest in his back, from where doctors removed it once he was transported to St. Vincent's Hospital here in Santa Fe. You will learn, ladies and gentlemen, that Ms. Hutchins did not have the same fate. You will see the aftermath of the shooting, and you will see medics frantically working to save Ms. Hutchins, to stabilize her, to transport her, to airlift her to UNM Hospital. But the damage from that bullet was too much. Ms. Hutchins succumbed to her injuries and bled to death. The evidence will show that meanwhile, after the shooting, the defendant began to claim he didn't pull the trigger. The evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that's not possible. You will hear from Mr. Pieta himself, who will tell you that gun will not discharge without a pull of the trigger. You will hear from firearms experts who will tell you that gun will not discharge without a pull of that trigger. The evidence will show that law enforcement officials arrived at the scene on October 21st after the shooting. and immediately took this gun into their custody. Then later, they asked the FBI for assistance in processing this gun for forensics and examination. You will learn that the gun and some ammunition that was taken from the set and from PDQ arms were sent to the FBI for analysis. You will learn that the gun first went to the DNA section of the lab, where a DNA analyst found the defendant's DNA on this gun. And then the gun was transferred to the firearms and tool mark section of the lab, where a firearms examiner examined this gun very carefully and closely. Bryce Ziegler, who is the firearms examiner for the FBI, will tell you that when he received this firearm, he first examined it. He didn't see any defects, didn't see any modifications. He tried and he checked the hammer in the 3 different positions, cocking positions. He checked the quarter cock position, fine. Checked the half cock position, fine. Checked the full cock position, fine. And when he held it in the full cock position, you will hear that hammer held until he pulled the trigger. You will also hear that Mr. Ziegler test fired this gun 12 different times. And each time that gun fired as it was designed. Each time when he pulled that trigger, it fired. And he will tell you that not once did this gun malfunction or discharge on its own. Now, the evidence will show that because the defendant had been claiming that he didn't pull the trigger, Mr. Ziegler suggested one last test to the sheriff's department. Mr. Ziegler told the sheriff's department that he could do what's called an accidental discharge test. He obtained authorization to do this test, and you will hear that he left that test for last because that test could potentially damage the gun. Mr. Ziegler went forward after he received this authorization and conducted the accidental discharge test. And you will hear, ladies and gentlemen, that during that test, a couple of the internal components of this firearm damaged. You will hear that the trigger sear and the full cock hammer notch were damaged during the accidental discharge testing. The evidence will show, however, that before this accidental discharge testing by the FBI, this gun functioned and worked perfectly fine. You'll see the video footage of the multiple occasions during which the defendant used this firearm on the set, and each time he fired it, it was working just fine. And in fact, you'll hear evidence that the defendant himself admitted in December of 2021 that this gun didn't have any mechanical problems. You will hear from the 2 of the country's leading experts on firearms forensics, Michael Haig and Lucian Haig. And they will tell you that they examined the revolver and the damaged pieces extensively. They will tell you that the damage to the full cock trigger notch is consistent with the accidental discharge testing that was conducted by the FBI. Lucian Haig will tell you that in August of 2023, he examined the trigger sear, the other piece, and that when he looked at it initially with the naked eye, there was nothing wrong with it. He couldn't see anything. But then he put it under the microscope, and he noticed some kind of rough microscopic diagonal lines on the surface of the trigger sear. And since at the time he did not know how Mr. Ziegler had conducted the accidental discharge test, he opined that these very small microscopic lines were likely not caused by the FBI accidental discharge testing, but he could not exclude that as the source of those lines. Then a few weeks ago, Mr. Haig will tell you that he spoke with Mr. Ziegler and he learned how Mr. Ziegler had conducted the accidental discharge test. Mr. Ziegler explained that he affixed that firearm onto a fixed platform and then struck the firearm on 6 different planes with a rubber mallet. And Mr. Ziegler explained to Mr. Haig that he had not affixed the mallet to another fixed device. Instead, he did it freehand. Mr. Haig will tell you, with his 50 plus years of experience as a firearms forensics expert, he opined or concluded that those very tiny microscopic diagonal lines on the surface of the trigger sear were likely caused by the FBI's accidental discharge test. The evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that regardless of how those tiny microscopic lines got on that trigger sear, these firearms experts will tell you that those would not affect the functionality of this firearm. At the end of this case, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to conclude and be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that on October 21st, 2021, that gun the defendant had asked
No one from
to be
Detroit
assigned
has heard anything?
worked perfectly fine as it was designed, and that the fatal and one of the main problems that afternoon of October 21st was that the defendant didn't do a gun safety check with that inexperienced armorer. He pointed the gun at another human being, cocked the hammer, and pulled that trigger in reckless disregard for Ms. Hutchins' safety. And you will be convinced that the only true and just verdict in this case, so that true justice can be served, is a verdict of guilty to involuntary manslaughter. Thank you.
Mr. Spiro?
All set? May I proceed? Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. This was an unspeakable tragedy, but Alec Baldwin committed no crime. He was an actor acting, playing the role of Harlan Rust. An actor playing a character can act in ways that are lethal, that just aren't lethal on a movie set. These cardinal rules, they're not cardinal rules on a movie set. And I don't have to tell you much more about this because you've all seen gunfights in movies. And the reason that can happen is because safety is ensured before the actor. On this movie set, there were people responsible for ensuring the safety of the set and the firearm. Those people failed in their duties, but Alec Baldwin committed no crime. The most critical issue in this case is how a real bullet got on a movie set. The evidence will show that real bullets are never supposed to be on movie sets. Movie sets use dummies and blanks. Movie sets use dummies, fake inert bullets that look like real bullets, they don't go bang, for when you want a close-up of the gun. You can't tell them apart from live bullets by looking at them, which is why live bullets can be nowhere near a movie set. And if the director wants a shot of the gun going, bang, poof, there's blanks that they can use. And those blanks look nothing like real bullets. And they are used for those shooting scenes. And, they'll play these videos that they described of Alec's, firearm in the movie going bang, poof, and people are conditioned to seeing people firing weapons and thinking that's a dangerous act. That's a dangerous act. And they will play those videos and give you that image to try to tarnish him in your eyes. But that's not what happened here. On this set, there was a real bullet something that should never be on a movie set, something which has nothing to do with making a movie. And you will hear no evidence, not one word, that Alec Baldwin had anything to do with that real bullet being brought onto that set. The second critical issue in this case is, why did a real bullet get loaded into a prop movie gun? It is undisputed that the bullet was loaded into the gun by the armorer, the person on set whose responsibility it was to ensure the gun was safe. And so picture that moment of the armorer placing a live bullet into that firearm. You hear the prosecutor say, he did this, or he performed in a certain way. He picked out the biggest gun as his prop. It's to tarnish him in your eyes. You will hear no evidence whatsoever. No evidence that anything Mr. Baldwin did, that something he did in that moment, that horrible moment when she put that bullet in that gun, none of it had anything to do with Alec Baldwin. And finally, the first assistant director's job, the head of safety, Dave Halls, checks it before it goes to the actor. And he will tell you he made a tragic mistake. He failed to detect a live bullet. And Alec Baldwin had nothing to do with that either. So all this evidence that the prosecutor just outlined, all of it, has nothing to do with these critical issues. Nothing. Which leads us to this. The evidence will show that on a movie set, safety has to occur before the gun is placed in the actor's hands. In this case, this unique case on a movie set, the prop gun was placed in Mr. Baldwin's hands and cold gun was announced, meaning it had been checked and double checked by those responsible to ensure the gun was safe. It was just a prop. They all thought it was just a prop and could do no harm. The actor's job is to act, to rehearse, to choreograph his moves, to memorize his lines. He's Harlan Rust. He's an outlaw running for his life, who in the incident in question, he's pulling a 6-shooter to try to defend himself. That's why the gun has to be safe before it gets into the actor's hands. His mind is somewhere else, in the being of another, a century away, an outlaw. He must be able to take that weapon and use it as the person he's acting would. To wave it, to point it, to pull the trigger like actors do, in ways that would be lethal in the real world, but are not lethal on a movie set. And I'm going to show you that scene now before lunch. And if we could just play action.
I'm gonna go find some help.
I don't need no damn help.
You're gonna die if you don't.
He's wounded on the run. Play again. Continue.
Hey there, Law. How are you? Welcome. Yes, there were live rounds on set.
Harlan Rust. Did you stand up nice and slow, tossing your weapons you have?
He's on the church pew, bleeding, his hand gripping the revolver. He would defend himself against the men in the movie. Play.
One more. You good? Ready? Harlan Rust. Did you get up nice and slow, tossing the weapons you have?
What help can I get right there?
Joe, you want me to wait to give you that line till he lands, till camera lands?
Yeah.
Yep.
Draw your gun and look up. Point your gun, okay?
Which way, camera right or left?
This way.
So camera left for now. I'll stand right here for you, Alex.
So whip it out.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me get this all greased. Ready? Okay, ready? Okay, ready? Ready.
And set. Ready, and action.
Harlan Rust.
Do one more just like that. You got one more? Yeah.
They want him to do it again. There's no danger. They want him to do it again.
And set. Ready, and action.
Harlan Rust. Nice.
That's the thought, or she's already been convicted of that, is bringing the live rounds on set.
It's a scene similar to scenes we've all seen in movies and television, performed by thousands of actors. And a
But
scene
they
that
also
continues after
received
lunch
a lot of
is the
this
same scene. It's just not unfortunately captured on video.
ammo and
And the scene they
props
envisioned
from
and acted out,
another
that prop gun was positioned in the afternoon so close to
show,
the camera that you could see
Yellowstone,
inside, that you could feel it. You could
1928.
feel that it was loaded, and it was loaded,
I worked
of
on the
course,
TV
with
set
dummies.
Walker. We also
Dummies to
received
make
a
it look
lot
like a
of
real gun. But
guns
this
and
one
ammo
time,
from that set as
one of those
well.
dummies was a real bullet.
So we
The
share the
real bullet was
same
not known
props.
to anyone in that church, amongst the actors, directors, and crew in the scene.
I don't know if it
Everyone
will
was
or
doing
not. Has it
exactly
been?
how they go about their business every day on a movie, not as if some lethal element had been included in the environment. You will see creativity and movement and everyone talking and vibrant. No one had any idea that this venomous, toxic element had been inserted into this magic they were creating. But it did. It entered that place. It killed an amazing person. It wounded another, and it changed lives forever. And so to find out what happened on that movie set, you need to do something that the prosecutors could never do. You have to step back and remember what they were doing on a movie set. What were Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer, Joel Souza, the director, and Alec Baldwin, the actor, doing on Bonanza Creek Ranch? You know, movies and magic have always been closely associated. The first people that made movies were magicians. And this imagination that happens in movies, you know, King Kong, he can stand above a city, and Superman can fly, horses and snakes and gun battles. For this to all work, for cinematography, what Helena did to work, for acting to work, you have to be so close to the barrier of real and imagined that the viewer feels that they're there, that it's real. The viewer can't see strings from the stuntman. The stuntman must leap. The snake must hiss. And guns happen in movies all over this country for many decades. Bang, bang. You've all seen it. Guns have been an element of theater and film and television since the earliest of times. Depictions of war and combat, Spartacus, it stirs audiences because it feels real. Later films, Platoon, Apocalypse Now, they showed the unvarnished realities of war. This ranch in Santa Fe, it had been the scene to many gunfights and movie scenes, well before Alec was even born. Laramie, Butch and the Sundance Kid, and these westerns.
He is probably civilly liable, for sure. As far as criminally liable, I mean, it's Hollywood, you guys. The
evidence
bar
will
is low.
show that guns are in movies because movies are about people's lives and guns are in people's lives. So let's talk about the evidence and how the lethal bullet got there. How did this happen and how did it unfold? The evidence will be the following. Everybody on a movie set has a role. The armor armors, the director directs, the actor acts. They work in harmony, but they have a division of responsibility. Safety being important has the first assistant director, whose name is Dave Halls, above the armorer and sort of the safety of the set. And on that day in question, the cast and the creative directors and crew in the church, it's a fake church. Their actors are not in their normal clothes. It's costumes. There's debris falling from the ceiling. It's fake debris. And they yell out cold gun. And that is an important term you're going to learn in this case. It means that the gun is cold. No one need worry. But even that requires a little bit more explanation. Cold gun doesn't mean no live bullets. There are for sure 100% no live bullets on movie sets. That's unimaginable. Cold means you don't even have the fake blank poof in it. You don't need to worry even about eye gear or earplugs for that fake bang. It means it's empty, inert, cosmetic, can do no harm. Cold guns can't hurt people. It's impossible, literally impossible for a cold gun to hurt somebody. You could hurt you more by dropping it on your foot. And that's why these artists are carrying on in their art. Cold gun, all clear to go. And the armorer on this set hands a prop gun to Alec, like she'd done times before, like people have done with him in movies for a generation. And he's there. He's in the movie set church with his movie set gear and his holster, and he takes his movie set gun. And he's deeply focused in that moment on his character. The artists, the crew members, they're moving around him. Again, no eye gear or earplugs, nothing to protect against. They carry on. They practice. They rehearse. They take a lunch break. Some folks leave, some don't. They continue the scene. Dave Halls, the head of safety, is actually practicing the movement so they can frame the footage that will happen after lunch. And the prop cold gun comes back. The prop cold gun comes back, cold gun. They call it again. Same gun, again, safe. The first assistant director, Dave Halls, head of safety for the entire film, a man with decades of experience, comes and takes the additional step and inspects the gun. Verifies again, cold gun. Everyone relax. Go back to focus on the making of a movie. There's nothing in the gun that can hurt anybody. And Alex sits on that pew. And the creative directors, the crew, they're moving around him, in front of him. And Harlan Rust, he begins, like the prosecutor told you, rehearsing, acting. This is a completely mundane, uneventful, routine act on a movie set. And so everybody carries on. Nobody fathomed, imagined, foresaw any possible danger. They moved around Alec as he practiced his draw. As the prosecutor put it, working out the details of the move and the actor.
Welcome, Conservative Husker. How are you?
Does it in a different way. Nobody bats an eye. And they will tell you that the investigation revealed that Baldwin was practicing drawing and pointing the weapon of the scene with guidance and instruction from Helena Hutchins and Joel Souza.
You think criminally guilty or civilly guilty?
Everybody's shocked. Alec is startled. He immediately says, "I didn't mean to shoot I didn't pull the trigger." Immediately.
Same, Gwen.
What the hell just happened? They collectively exclaim. Shock turns to panic. 911 is called.
Out at Bonanza Creek Ranch right now. We've had 2 people shot on a movie set accidentally. You said someone was shot? 2 people accidentally with gunshots as on movie set, Bonanza Creek Ranch. Send it. I'll connect you with medical dispatch. Santa Fe Fire and EMS, what's the location of the emergency? Bonanza Creek Ranch has had 2 people accidentally shot on a movie set by a prop gun. We need help immediately. Okay. This fucking AD that yelled at me at lunch because asking about revisions. This motherfucker. Did you see him lean over my table and yell at me? He's checked the gun. He's responsible for what happened. Now, Mimi? No. I'm a strip supervisor. How many people are injured? 2.
Wow.
That I know of. I was sitting, we were rehearsing, and it went off, and I ran out.
Accidentally shot on a movie set.
3 times she said it though, accidentally.
Fucking AD,
accidentally.
It was his responsibility. Not a word about Alec Baldwin. While they're en route, police, EMS, the cast and crew are outside.
I agree he has accountability for sure, but just
talking to those responsible for the prop and its safety.
Criminal
the armorer is yelling sorry. Halls, the first assistant director, is panicked.
High threshold.
The prop master, Sarah Zachary.
Being on movie sets.
I don't know exactly where she is at that point, but they check the gun feverishly.
Criminal negligence is.
They take the ammo out of the gun. They look at it. What the heck happened? They go back to the prop cart that houses the ammo. They're touching the gun and manipulating the gun, emptying it. They go and move some stuff off the prop cart, trying to figure it out. Sarah Zachary, the head of props, will tell you she threw some stuff out. And eventually, of course, EMS and police arrive pretty soon thereafter. And Helena Hutchins and Joel
Just
Souza, the director,
for-
are transported to the hospital where Helena tragically passes away. And I'm not going to be asking questions about her condition after she was wounded or the medical interventions that followed. Her injuries, the efforts to revive her, are not in dispute in this case. The evidence will be there. The prosecutor may present some of these emotionally charged images, but we're not going to be asking questions about that, and it's not an issue in dispute in this case. You jurors are allowed to ask yourselves whether or not that should be the focus or the focus should be the evidence. So police enter the scene. They have lapel cameras. Thank God they have lapel cameras. You want to see what happens? The evidence will show you can play the videotape. Want to see if they take the right gun? Play the videotape. Want to make sure what the people said or did they're remembering correctly? Play the videotape. And so they immediately recover the prop gun and they secure it. That's off to the side. And the reason that you preserve things in the moment is so that you know what existed in the moment, the evidence in the moment, the people and the witnesses and what they said in the moment. These folks, the members of Rust, they'd never been through anything like this before. That is why what they originally said matters so much in this case. If you remember anything I say today as the evidence proceeds, remember that. Look at the evidence of what the people of Rust said and did that day. Life changes, memories change. There are human motivations, internal pressure, external pressure. That's why preservation is so important. So the police continue. In terms of the prop cart and the prop ammo that's on the cart,
such a mess.
it's manipulated, altered, kind of messy.
So messy.
And, at this accidental shooting on a movie set, the police begin to make some mistakes. No one had ever investigated a prop gun on a movie set before. They recover the prop gun, but they don't wear gloves. They don't have the prop car inside the crime scene. Someone moves it onto the crime scene. People start touching it and showing, okay, this is a dummy, this is a blank. And then they make another mistake that matters in this case with some more significance, which is that they don't secure the prop truck that houses the cart. See, that cart that they roll off comes from a truck where all of the ammunition, all of the firearms are, and that's where they're stored. They don't secure the prop truck for several days. And then the prop house that supplies the truck, that supplies the cart, they don't secure for over a month. A lot of mistakes. They had never investigated a case in a movie set. But they had the prop gun. That was key. And so they needed to figure out where the live bullet came from. They had the shell casing, Starline brass. That's the sort of make. You'll hear that phrase, Starline brass. And the police were right to focus on that. That
You'd
was
be
the
amazed how many
lethal
carts
element.
are on a set.
And so they work outward. Makes good enough sense. Folks
They're
around
everywhere.
the ammo and the gun to be interviewed at the precinct. The armorer at the precinct. She loaded the live bullet. Halls, head of safety, he double checked. And Alec walks up to the police. You'll see this early today. And he says, I'm here, whatever you want to do, whatever you need me to do. Just tell me where to go. And Sarah Zachary, the prop master who threw out the stuff at the cart, they missed her that night to bring to the precinct. But the rest of them at the precinct. And thankfully, we have the lapel
You
cameras.
can't, everything has a cart.
And then they cleared the gun outside after on his request, and I witnessed them clear it and saw the bullets.
Okay. So only one was,
The one that was missing, the one that fired, we don't know, but all the other ones were proper.
I can pause this. I can turn this off. Move on. That was just a quick snapshot of the scene.
Let's approach her. This is, Ms. Johnson.
They consented to the exhibit.
So the cart situation, there's literally a cart for everything. So like when you have props and you have people, there are people all over. Everyone has a job. People in charge of every single prop. Like literally when I was on set, if this was the phone that I carried on a set, it would have my name and a number on it, and it would be placed in a spot. And I would go back and get this same phone every single time I was put back in a scene to make sure that I had this same phone. That's what a prop person, you're assigned basically a person. On a bigger type of set or depending on the budget. But you're basically assigned a person who gives you your prop to make sure you have consistency and
The
continuity.
remaining witnesses from inside the church are interviewed.
But
on
this
the scene.
clearly was a very low budget,
They're
even for
interviewed with
Alec
lapel
Baldwin.
cameras. They're interviewed by the
So they didn't
lead
have people
detective,
doing that. He
Detective
had
Cannell.
people,
And those
but
witnesses,
other
some
people
of
didn't
them
have
will come in
people.
here and
And
testify.
even his person sucked.
And not a single one of them will tell you anything different than what I'm about to tell you about the evidence. The gun was double checked, verified it was a cold gun, not an actor's responsibility to check. Safety was ensured before. Alec was doing his practicing, his rehearsing, his movements. People manipulate and point guns on movie sets. The gun went off during the rehearsal. No one saw him intentionally pull the trigger. It was obviously a tragic accident, but
I think
Alec
the
committed no homicide.
armor
Alec took the gun from those charged with its safety. He did not
is
tamper with it. He did not load it himself. He did not
negligent
leave it unattended. It completed his
for
costume
doing a
and his
bad
character.
job,
It was an actor handling a prop and integrating it into
for
the
being
character of Harley
unprofessional
Rust.
and
There was a
taking a job
dedicated
that she wasn't
professional
ready
there,
for, but who wouldn't
off
take a
camera,
job
whose
on a
sole
Hollywood
sacred
set.
responsibility was that prop safety. And Dave Halls, the head of safety, was there by her side. Everyone
Guns don't hurt
relied on
people.
that.
People hurt people.
And it was
Stupidity hurts people.
tragic.
The armor was stupid and negligent.
That they let them down. He was just acting as he has done for generations, and it was the safety apparatus that failed them all. So law enforcement
I
continued.
think she was highly negligent.
They need to find
Yes.
the live bullet. That was the lethal element. So
She didn't
they,
even have a
led by Detective Cannell,
license to carry.
execute a search warrant
How
on the
could she be
church.
an armor?
And that's what law enforcement does. They immediately go to a
Right.
judge. They say, this is what we need to do. They go into the church urgently before anything can be altered. They're confirming it was an accident, not a crime in the church. They search for guns and ammunition, videos and photos. There was no further answer in the church. They had the prop gun. They had all those witnesses secured. Their statements are clear. Alec had committed no crime, but the bullet was a mystery. And so they focus on the bullet, the critical lethal bullet, and how did it enter the movie set. So they had the prop cart, and then they go do the warrant on the prop truck. And so at that point, and I'm going to put up a photo so that you can see who some of these individuals are. They're trying to figure out when they go to the truck, what is the source of the lethal bullet? And so they execute a warrant on the truck approximately a week later. The Seth Kenny that you heard about in the prosecutor's opening, the supplier for the set, he's there. Sarah Zachary, the prop master, she's there. And they walk through what's inside of the prop
I think
truck
all of
with
these
law
people are terrible
But
at their
there's no
job,
answer to the lethal bullet.
but they let Hannah take the
And
fall.
you know, this case then takes on, all this pressure. The media begins swirling. Where is the lethal bullet? How did it get on that movie set? And what about that actor, Alec Baldwin, who had nothing to do with why the bullet got on the movie set?
Well, he hired all those people.
And so police and prosecutors, they work hand in hand, meeting after meeting, trying to find the lethal bullet, meeting with Seth Kenny, meeting with Sarah Zachary, the prop master, the supplier. Where is it? And about a month after the incident, Sarah Zachary finally sits down with law enforcement to answer some questions. And she explains to them that she threw away some stuff. She disposed of some stuff. And the prosecutors and police keep meeting, swirling media. And then at that point, they go to the last step, right? Done the cart, gone to the truck, met with Sarah Zachary, and they go execute a search warrant on, as the prosecutor told you, PDQ, the prop house. And again, Seth Kenny's there to greet them, let them in, and they don't find the lethal bullet. They never did. They never did. And as things roll into police and prosecutors, cell phones and photos and forensics, looking for this shiny object, they found another shiny object. Instead of trying to find the source of the lethal bullet,
The scapegoat.
they focused on Mr. Baldwin. But Mr. Baldwin was like every other actor. He goes bang in movies. He's told when guns are cold or not. He rehearses and acts as his character. Safety proceeds before the actor. Once the actor has the prop gun, he can handle it however a person he's acting as would. A properly clear gun can't hurt anybody. And so they told you about some of the things that Alec said in the statements that they will take or picked out a few lines from. But he won't tell you anything different, that he took a gun loaded and cleared by the armor and the AD. He made motions with the gun as he was rehearsing. He didn't intentionally pull the trigger. The gun just went off. And he does say, I didn't have a problem with the gun before. And this idea, that they said that he didn't want to check because he would offend them. In this moment, he's been doing this for 40 years, the evidence will show. And he has habits. And there are also SAG guidelines that tell actors what to do and what not to do. And the SAG guidelines don't tell actors to check the gun. You will see them. That's not the actor's role. And so I guess the point that they're trying to make is that why in this specific moment he doesn't break his habit of 40 years and check it differently and sort of insult them this one time. If he had done that and started playing with the gun in that way, they'd be saying, arrogant actor, why is he doing that? So they will play these statements, Alec's statements. You're going to hear a man in shock and grief, a father, an artist, worried about his family. You hear he's, on one of the calls, he's going to meet with the decedent's family, the Hutchins family, and he's upset about that. He will talk to law enforcement. He will call them. He doesn't need a lawyer. He didn't commit a crime. He will call them and offer to meet and speak over and over again. And ask anyone in the acting world. Actors know. Actors rely on armors and point guns and shoot guns. The Armorers Act, what they did is clear and proven. The head of safety, you will learn, took responsibility for his verification failure. But Alec committed no homicide. So law enforcement didn't have a homicide case against Alec Baldwin, but they changed the question. You heard the prosecutor tell you about this. Did he pull the trigger? Did he pull the trigger? Did he intentionally pull the trigger? And if he did, of course, that would only make his statement incorrect, right? That would mean he would have misspoke, been incorrect. And I want to stop for a moment and just tell you, because you're going to hear a lot of testimony, expert testimony, like the prosecutor told you, about the gun functioning imperfectly. Did he let the hammer down when he cocked it? Did he hit the trigger? Did he, in a calculated manner, as the prosecutor made a motion, fire the gun like that? And when this issue is discussed, it's easy to sort of pull yourself into courtroom land and away from a movie set. On a movie set, you're allowed to pull the trigger. So even if he intentionally pulled the trigger like the prosecutor just demonstrated, that doesn't make him guilty of homicide. He did not know or have any reason to know that gun was loaded with a live bullet. That's the key. That live bullet is the key. That is the lethal element. But again, as the prosecutor told you, if they could prove that he intentionally pulled the trigger and he was imperfect, imprecise, wrong with what he said, then maybe you take that and you say he's lying. And if he's a liar, he committed homicide. And so what they do is they take the prop gun. They're blinded by the shine. They're blinded by trying to disprove Alec. They take it and they order a destructive test on the firearm. They order the FBI to take a test that they know will destroy the firearm. It's a pointless, unnecessary test where they blindly try to make this big case by taking a mallet and smashing the firearm. At the time that they did that, they knew that Alec had adamantly maintained, that he was manipulating the hammer and the gun just went off. That the witnesses said it went off out of nowhere. That there are these accidental discharges that happen on the set. That guns have issues in the real world. That this gun had a hair trigger. And the owner's manual of this specific gun actually says that if you load it with a live round or any round in the chamber, in that last position, and you drop it like you see a cowboy in a movie, this type of old cowboy gun can accidentally go off. I don't remember hearing anything about that. The evidence will show that. So rather than trying to answer the question of what happened, they proceed with the destructive test. They eliminate the one item that could prove what Alex said and believed. They didn't offer him a chance to test the gun. They didn't take the gun apart before they broke it and destroyed it and look at its inner workings. They didn't turn on their videotape. They just destroyed it. Can't ever be tested in the same condition it was in that day. Won't ever allow Alec to show his truth. And the destruction of this gun that you will hear in this evidence is symbolic of this entire case. Because the officers will tell you at that point, they weren't really investigating anymore. They were trying to disprove Alec, to get Alec, to have this day. And so after the destruction of the firearm, they hired some expert witnesses you heard about to pick up the pieces, so to speak. And the state retained Lucian Haig, an expert with over half a century of experience. And he will come into court and he will tell you he's never seen anything like this in his entire career. They conducted a pointless test, a test that would lead to inevitable destruction of the firearm. There were other correct tests that they could have done to prove whether or not it could have accidentally discharged. None of the experts can test the gun in the condition it was in on the day in question. Why? Not because of something that Alec Baldwin or the crew members of Rust did. They were all clear. The gun just went off. But because of something that law
I
enforcement
don't think that long, like
and they
18
deprived him of
months.
that opportunity. However, Lucian
It's the
Haig
same
will
as
tell you that
Hannah.
in his analysis, he did find modification that he thought likely pre-existed the FBI testing. And what that modification means and
She'll be
how
out
it
in a
impacted the
year on
gun
good behavior.
is hard to perfectly know, of course, but it was a modification on an important part, the critical part of the firearm. And it was important enough for them to put into a report and to write a new opinion about. They felt this revelation had to be sent to prosecutors, and they maintained that position that this modification was a matter of import for almost a year. And then a few weeks ago, before trial, they just took it back. They just took it back. You will get to see the circumstances of that take back. How far they would go for the shiny object. They never solved the question of the lethal bullet. They destroyed the gun, and all they were left with is Alec Baldwin and the movie they intend to put on. But because they never solved the lethal bullet, they eliminated the prop gun. There will not be one witness, not one shred of evidence in this trial that Alec knew or should have known the gun was loaded with a live round. So they can't prove their high-profile homicide case. So they will proceed to then here and now tell you about other things, other evidence that you will hear that has nothing to do with what happened in the church on October 21st. That the movie said as a whole was improper or anything, that they hired the wrong armorer. I think I heard in opening. The evidence will show that the armorer was hired by somebody else, trained by somebody else, had done gun scenes on Rust with somebody else before Alec even got there. She was the daughter and the apprentice of the most famous and well-respected armorer in Hollywood. And she had just left serving, being an armorer for Nicolas Cage on another Western. Then they'll come in and they'll say, but what about the movie guidelines? You heard about Mr. Jorgensen and the movie guidelines, that one of the protocols wasn't followed, or there was a safety issue about something unrelated to this, like these movie guidelines on a set or the things of Navy SEALs and NASA. The guidelines were followed. They followed the safety guidelines. Actors don't check the weapons. Safety is ensured by dedicated personnel. So they will say, but there had been accidental discharges on the set, that guns had fired accidentally prior, not related to Alec, by the way. But again, that's the people we looked at. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed's fault, Sandra Zachary's fault, perhaps, Dave Hall's faults, workplace issues. Some of them will end up, and you will hear the witnesses in this case. Many of them have brought civil lawsuits, and you'll hear that, in those civil lawsuits, they're presenting evidence to try to meet a burden, not a criminal beyond a reasonable doubt homicide trial burden, but they're going to try to prove their cases in civil courts. And that's where faults and accidents are at worst 99% worked out. Not here. But you'll hear these members of the Rust crew come in here. They'll try to make sense of this for you. Some of them have sued. Some of them are in grief. Some of them are in grief and have sued. And part of this grief they feel, that everybody feels, is understandable. And what they will do is they will tell you, if only we had had a second armorer. One of them will say, if only Dave Halls had checked better If only the camera hadn't been right there and Ms. Hutchins wasn't leaning over the camera. If only I myself did this. If only Alec did that. This is natural, their testimony. It's part of the human condition. It's part of grief.
Objection, Your Honor.
None of them knew.
Yes.
You gonna approach or what? Okay, I can tell you on any set, the main star is not involved in the lower hiring process. Even if they're the producer of the freaking movie, okay? They are not in charge of hiring the freaking caterer, the freaking armorer, the prop master, the extras. They don't give a shit. They're not in charge of that. They're
As
not
I was
hiring
saying,
that.
the witnesses in their grief
So I'm pretty sure
will
Alec
look for
Baldwin did not
reasons
know
to
who
try
the
to make
hell
sense
Hannah
of this
Gutierrez
tragedy.
was.
But again, none of them knew or should have known about the lethal bullet either. No one had any idea that it was on that set or in that gun. In that world, they were all in it together. And you will hear that none of this other stuff has anything to do with those two critical questions we started with. Why there was a live bullet on set, why the armorer placed it in the gun, and of course, why the head of safety failed to detect it. None of it speaks to whether Alec knew or should have known those things. He didn't. No one on that set did. It was not foreseeable. You will hear that word from the witnesses and from eventually the instructions. Foreseeable. This was anything other than foreseeable. And they must prove beyond any and all reasonable doubt that this was foreseeable. Total indifference to human life, that death might occur. He's an actor. He's an actor. But here we are at a homicide trial. And so they will pull witnesses, and witnesses will be cross-examined. They will push themselves to the edge of truth and beyond. You know, these things about, Alec didn't notice this or Alec didn't notice that. I want to make sure that you're clear on something that the evidence will show. He had been filming on that set for a handful of days. The evidence will show he had just gotten there. It's not as if he had been there for months and months and noticed things and failed things, and he had just gotten there. You don't notice every little thing when you start at a new place and when you're in the character of Harlan Rust. But they will push forward, and they will have gaps in the evidence as well. Don't expect you to be hearing and for them to call the first AD head of safety. I don't know if you'll be hearing from the lead detective, Connell, who investigated this case, the lead detective, or the sergeant that supervised him, Sergeant Zook. I don't think you'll hear from Mr. Schilling, who was the lead investigator for the prosecutors. And so as you hear this, you jurors can assess about that gap of evidence. And there's one thing that I can tell you you will not hear also. You will not hear from an actor or an expert in acting. And so they will play the videotapes of Alec Baldwin, the actor, acting. They will show you perhaps over and over again him in shooting scenes. Bad Alec shooting a gun the wrong way in a movie scene. They will try to get you to picture that and forget that this was a movie set in the first place. And you will see actors in a Western acting. And your mind might go to your favorite gun scene in your favorite movie. You may picture actors and actresses doing exactly what you see here. The other actors in Rust are doing the same thing that Mr. Baldwin was doing. But when you come back from that moment, remember, this is a homicide trial. And you will see soon that the reason they play those videos of him over and over is because they don't have any evidence of actual homicide. And you will learn the truth. Not a day goes by when we don't wish Alec had saved your life. But never, the witnesses will tell you, in the history, is something that an actor has done. Intercepted a live bullet from a prop gun. No actor in history. No one could have imagined or expected an actor to do that. So just remember that truth. So when they cry out justice, justice is truth. This was an unspeakable tragedy. Alec Baldwin committed no crime. Thank you.
All right, thank you. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our morning bathroom break. So please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court. And follow what Mr. Bing tells you to do. And we'll see you back here about 20 of. All right, thank you.
All rise for the jury.
Okay, so see, like I said, on a set, the main actors, like, so it's like a family on a set, but it's like a family in your own bubble. So like the extras are stuck together, the main characters, um, they don't hang out with each other. Okay, so I've been on movie sets and TV sets, show sets. The main characters don't hang out with each other. Once they're done doing their scene together, they completely separate. They go back to their own trailers. They sit in their own little chairs. They do not talk to each other. They do their scene and then they go away. And the prop team, all the background people, the crew, they have their own little cliques and they hang out with each other. But everyone has a job on a set, and everyone's job is to do that job. Now, people will help each other out in lighting and whatever, but everyone has a specific job. If your job is to put tape on the ground, that is your job. Your job is to put tape on the ground so you can mark where a person, an actor, is supposed to stand. People have job to put lighting up. People have a job to put wiring down. People have a job to hold a camera. People have a job. Everyone has a job. So on this set, apparently, it was not as organized and there weren't enough people to do said jobs because it was in a remote location. So, and it was on a tight budget. So apparently you had prop people helping the armor. You had the armor helping props. If you watched the armor trial, you saw that she was also a part of the prop team. So she was very unorganized. She didn't have her stuff together. She had her ammo in a fanny pack, for God's sake. She didn't even have the right ammo in the right bandolas. She had different types of ammo, so the ammo didn't even match like the guns they were carrying. So it was, she just wasn't had nothing for continuity. She was not very professional. She wasn't knowledgeable about ammunition, guns, anything, which is really weird because her father is very well known in Hollywood. So I don't know. I think she's irresponsible and bad at her job. And I think she took on more than she could chew. As far as being criminally negligent, I don't know. Alec Baldwin, I think, is civilly negligent. His production company, anyway, is for poor hiring. But as far as criminal, I mean, as a rule, you don't point a gun at someone unless you're meaning to use it. But this is acting. The same rules do apply for movie sets that apply for any workplace, which is like OSHA and things like that are supposed to apply. But I mean, Hollywood gets a little, I guess you could say, little different treatment. If anyone has heard anything from Detroit area, let me know. It's kind of thinking it would be a quick verdict. Yes, it is Hollywood, honey. I've been in it. And it is, that's why I left it, because it's weird. If you're not willing to sell your soul, yeah, there's nothing. So if we don't hear anything soon, I might just have to do a live from the Grand Canyon because, I mean, we came here to the Grand Canyon. We might be yelling it. I wonder, do they have like rock rock falls in the Grand Canyon. If I yelled like screamed that he was not guilty in the Grand Canyon. Do they have rock falls in the Grand Canyon, Lindsay? Rock falls? Yeah, like if I screamed in the Grand Canyon that Michael was not guilty.
Oh, I don't know.
Because I don't know how long it's going to take, so we might not find out till we get to the Grand Canyon.
Well, the Grand Canyon's only like 5 minutes away.
Yeah, but the walk up there isn't.
Do what?
The walk up there isn't.
The walk up there is like 100 yards from me.
Y'all, my sister's lying to me. She's trying to tell me that the walk to the Grand Canyon is like, I think she really meant to say 100 miles.
No. Really not far.
She's trying to trick me.
Mama might have thought it was 100 miles. It probably felt like that.
I don't remember how many of these he said to take. What did you do?
What?
Oh, I thought you hit something. I think this trial is a big waste of money and time.
Which one? Baldwin?
Yeah, Alec Baldwin.
Why? I know he's the one that she. And he.
Yes.
He's not really guilty of what happened.
He did the shooting. My sister's from Alabama, straight out Alabama, y'all. So she said, I know he's the one who did the shooting. Y'all think I sound crazy when I get excited? Y'all ought to hear my sister. It is, what time is it in Detroit? 12:30. Oh man, I bet they're at lunch. Do you think they went to lunch? Dang it. But I'm checking my phone for nothing. Yep, I bet they're on a lunch break. What time is it in New Mexico? Are they on the same time as Arizona?
I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. I could see that, Elizabeth. Surely they'd be tired of having lunches from downtown Detroit. How many options do y'all have down there? Especially if it's flooding. Well, heck, they probably don't want to get out in that bad weather. Oh, you got to check out China? All right. Well, I'm probably, as soon as I hear the verdict, I'm going to do a live from the Grand Canyon. From the Grand Canyon, and hopefully be celebrating a not guilty. Have fun, China. We'll see you later. Okay, you guys, I'm going to get ready to check out. I'm going to keep watching. So if something changes, I'll do another live real quick. If you haven't subscribed, like, share, hit notification bells, all that shenanigans, become a member because I'm going to have something special, fingers crossed, after this verdict for members. And then after I release it to members, I will release it later to everyone else, but I'm hoping this will encourage you guys to become members. See y'all later. I'll let you know when the verdict comes out.